Hey there guys, I am the Six Machine and welcome back to another Warhammer video. So we are on to our next Heresy army. This time it's arguably one of the legions which could have monumentally changed the outcome of the entire war if they had just made a few small changes in their decisions. They are quite possibly one of the most tragic legions in terms of how they fell, but I think whether you love them or not, they are definitely a very, very cool legion with an awesome Egyptian style theme and loads of psychic shenanigans to play around with. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, then maybe the Thousand Sons will be who you want to play in Age of Darkness. As always, we get to see some of their rules and army abilities, and first up is the Cult Arcana rule. This gives all of your infantry and cavalry units the Psyker subtype, but notably doesn't grant them access to any disciplines. Now, the psychic phase in the new game is actually completely gone, and it looks like various units get almost sort of like an ability that is inbuilt to their profile, like a spell that they can do from what I've seen. I don't know all of the details because I've not seen the full kind of leaks that are out there at the moment, but I don't know whether this access to the Psyker subtype is going to unlock some various new abilities or powers that your generic squads can then cast and get off over the course of the game. As I said, I'm not entirely sure, but this will definitely let pretty much your entire army have some kind of fun when it comes to doing some psychic trickery, I imagine. And so I do think that this is quite a potent buff, depending on what options it does open up for you in terms of your army abilities. It also grants your characters with the infantry or cavalry type access to a minor arcana, and now these are kind of little extra buffs that you can choose. They are based on the Thousand Sun cults if you've read the books or the lore, so you have Corvidae, Raptora, Pyri, Athenaean and Pavone, and each one will give your character an extra little buff just to help them and their unit out. They range from things like letting the character in his unit gain Hammer of Wrath when they charge, or imposing leadership penalties on enemy pinning tests, that kind of thing. They're nothing super game breaking, but they are potentially nice little bonuses that may help you eke out a win in a particular combat that you're involved in. So they are a very welcome addition in their own right, I think. Cult Arcana also finally lets your independent characters for 15 points upgrade to gain a psychic discipline. So if they don't already have one, you can pay a few points and get even more psychic potential across your list and across your army, and presumably they will get some extra abilities and spells to fling around to kill the enemy or to buff your forces. So all in all, I actually think this is a really solid trait. It's not as overtly powerful as some of the other ones that we've seen, but gaining all of those psychic buffs and, I hate to use the word keyword, but the psychic sort of keywords will presumably allow you to get some very nasty combos set up and onto your units and onto your forces, which I think will, in some cases, after a little bit of planning and setup, allow you to get an end result which is arguably stronger than some of the other Legion traits. It's just going to be one that requires a bit more setup and planning than the more straightforward +1 attack on the charge that other Legions get. They also show off a Thousand Sons advanced reaction, and Fortress of the Mind is, quite frankly, crazily powerful. You use it in the enemy's shooting phase when they target one of your units, and as your reaction after your opponent has made all of their hit and wound rolls, but before you make any saves, you have to take a psychic test. And if you fail the test, your unit gains a 5+ invulnerable save and your unit suffers the perils of the warp. So I mean, even on a fail, yeah, you suffer the perils, but you're getting a 5+ invuln that could really help to keep your squad alive. If you pass the psychic test though, you don't get the 5+ invuln, you get a 3+ invuln instead. So yeah, that is potentially an entire squad of Terminators or an entire squad of 20 Marines getting a hugely powerful 3+ save against even the most terrifying AP1 or AP2 or AP3 firepower. And really, if you haven't played sort of the earlier editions, or if you started in 8th so you aren't aware of how much AP1 to 3 firepower there is potentially around in the game, this is really huge. Getting a 3+ invuln against pretty much any firepower in the entire setting is enormously powerful. It's basically giving your entire squad storm shields. And so when you know your enemy is going to be pouring a huge amount of low AP firepower into you, this is going to help keep your squad alive against pretty much anything that is coming your way, whether it's las cannons or melter or plasma with the breaching rule or battle cannons, anything like that, or custodies as well. They've got a fair amount of low AP shooting. So anything like that, you will want to be using this to make sure your squad just stays alive through the worst of your enemy's shooting. It's a really, really strong reaction, and I imagine it's one that's going to get used every single game if you're a Thousand Suns player. But there we go. What do you think of these Thousand Suns rules? They seem to me to be a bit more reliant on combo setups for the Legion trait anyway, which I think may put a few people off, but I do think that in general, if you can get it right and you can get everything set up and everything goes off well, you are going to have a really solid, really powerful Legion trait to play around with. And I think the reaction is one of the best that we've seen so far. So if you want to throw some mind bullets around and maybe have an army where you have to plan ahead a bit and think about the best way to buff your army with the various spells and powers, I do think the Thousand Suns look to be a very, very good pick. But let me know in the comments below. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe for more Warhammer content from me. But until next time, I will catch you later, guys.